AIM-listed Helium One Global is aiming to become a primary supplier of high-grade helium gas to industry. At the moment, its projects are based solely in Tanzania, but in what the company says is an expanding market as tech, medical and aerospace sectors increase demand. Is this an area to watch? We're talking now to Helium One Chief Executive, David Minchin. David, welcome. It's great to be able to have some time out to speak to you a little bit more about helium. Explain where you sit in this market and explain more about the market itself.
Sure. So Helium One has the potential to be a globally strategic asset to resolve a supply-constrained market. We are a primary helium producer, which means that our helium is not associated with hydrocarbon, which that's going to be essential to provide continuity of this high-value industrial gas throughout the green transition, given 95% of current supply is associated as a byproduct of hydrocarbon. We have identified a number of high-grade seeps coming up to surface in Tanzania, which are between 50 and 200 times higher grade than anything currently in production. We have a large-scale resource of 138 billion cubic feet. That's enough to provide the entirety of global demand for more than 20 years, or more realistic, 10 to 15% of the global market for over a century. All of that means that we've got a potential to be a strategic asset, not just now, but in the future, in providing longevity of supply in this high demand, high growth sector.
In terms of where helium is, I mean, you're based in Tanzania, you've had exploration campaigns and projects there. Clearly, it's a place where it's naturally occurring. Does helium occur in most places around the world, or is it only sort of selective locations?
Well, you've fallen into a trap there of asking a geologist why his project is unique. So let me go into as much depth as I dare. Basically, helium forms in ancient continental crust over billions of years through the long-term decay of naturally occurring radioactive isotopes. Basically, helium is an alpha particle. It gets collected on the edge of zircon crystals and on the crystal margins in ancient continental crust, but it gets released when that crust is broken open for the very first time. So it's a very unique source rock. In Tanzania, we're gifted with ancient cryptonic rocks over 2.5 billion years old, which have never been through a thermal shock event, which are being broken by the East African Rift Valley for the very first time. So we know that high-grade primary helium is being generated because we've identified the seeps at the surface. But on top of its source rock, you need to have all of the systems of a hydrocarbon system to be able to trap the helium in economic quantities. Now, we started exploration in 2015. We were able to use our first mover advantage at a time when nobody else was looking at helium to secure 4,500 square kilometers of the most prospective land in Tanzania, which for various geological reasons is probably the most prospective land in the world. And we basically secured all of the areas where there are high-grade helium seeps known to occur at surface, which are adjacent to sediment-filled basins with the capacity to trap and store economic quantities of helium. In that way, I'd say we are unique.
Yeah, last year, I mean, you carried out your first exploration campaign. In your words, I think you de-risked the basin. More about that particularly, and what sort of risk you're now presenting to investors.
Yeah, our 2021 drilling campaign was very successful in providing proof of concept for a working helium system. In many ways, Taiwan delivered everything and more that we could expect in terms of a geological success. The problem we had was that due to technical difficulties in drilling a slimline well, we weren't able to actually test the hole properly. We weren't able to flow any gas to surface. But what do I mean by de-risked? So in Taiwan, we've identified good to excellent quality reservoir typified by clean sands with low clay content. We've got good quality sealing units, especially in the top of Karoo and in the base of lake beds. But we've also got interformational clay stones, which are providing opportunity for interformational seals and allowing stacked reservoir seal potential throughout the system. And indeed, that's what we saw in a tie. We've had multiple intervals encountered helium shows from surface all the way down to basement, starting with a 2.2% helium mud show in the lake bed formation. In the red sandstone, we had over 1,000 times helium baseload. And in the Karoo, we had 5 good quality helium shows, which we weren't able to test. So all in all, it's pointing towards a working helium system with multiple untested plays, which gives us the confidence to mobilize a conventional rig to properly test the system in what was really an advanced exploration project.
It's interesting. I've been looking through the presentation, which I know you've got on your website, which the public can access. It's interesting looking at some of the geological aspects of what you're talking about. Clearly, it goes into far too much depth for someone as ignorant as I am about geology, but it does tell me a little bit more about where all this comes from and how you're producing it and so forth. What is the situation you're at in terms of the company, where you are down that road of supplying regular helium to the market?
So we are at an advanced exploration stage. We've already commenced our phase 2 exploration project towards the end of last year with the commencement of 2D seismic over the northern extensions of prospective structures. That we're completing the initial analysis of that and hope to put something to the market soon. It's looking very promising for hopefully multiple leads, which point towards a promising 2022 campaign. We've identified abundant near-surface helium anomalies on multi-spectral satellite spectroscopy analysis, which has been able to provide a heat map on near-surface helium anomalies and gives us a great deal of confidence of the active charge and migration across the basin. We've just commenced our ERT survey, which is it's electro-resistance tomography, which is providing a great deal of geological information on the top 200 meters from the surface, which is not only telling us more information about the potential for shallow play types, but also by bridging that gap between the helium anomalies seen at surface and the deeper structures recognized in 2D seismic. It's giving us a great deal of information about how the deeper systems are working. And all of this information is coming together to really de-risk our 2022 campaign to give us our best opportunity to make a discovery in this year.
It's interesting as well on the presentation, you talk about a relatively low capital expenditure program needed to take the project on through to the point at which you're going to start producing all this. And then, of course, you go into the operating expenditure and so forth, which also looks to be relatively inexpensive compared maybe to some other mining or sort of gas operations. Tell me a little bit more about the structure of the balance sheet and what things are looking like going into this sort of cost that you're going to have to expend in order to get the project fully taken on through to production. You're 68 million market cap, I believe, at the moment at Helium One. How is the company structured? What's the cash position like? What's your cash burn in this early stage?
I mean, this is exactly why I was so excited. Just to your point about capex, this is exactly why I was so excited about developing this project. With a very simple bimodal helium nitrogen gas mix. The cost into development is quite low, as you said. We'd be looking at sort of planned for 350,000 MCF a year. We'd be looking at 50 million, let's say 80 million, including topside infrastructure and improvements to roads, etc. So the barrier to entry on a discovery is very low. The upside is very high because we're talking about a very high value gas, which current price is $350 per MCF plus, with an operating cost of less than $20 per MCF. It's a very, very lucrative business in the event of a discovery being made. And that's why we're now we have a de-risked basin and we're at this stage of exploration. We're confident to push on with large-scale conventional drilling rigs.
And about the cash?
Yeah, well, we're very well financed for our current exploration program. We've got north of $10 million left in the bank, which is sufficient to keep us moving on the ground quite a long way. Obviously, the more cash we have in the bank, the more exploration we can do, and the more value we can add to the project. But we keep a very tight ship. I am notoriously tight-fisted when it comes to spending money, and we're going to manage to get as far as we can with the capital that we have.
How far away is the whole operation, do you think, from producing? And I'm assuming you want to go through to production rather than to sell yourself to a larger company.
Well, we're looking to drill over the summer of 22. Well, I say looking to, we're committing to drill over the summer of 22 to make this our discovery year. Once we've made a discovery, timelines into development are relatively short. With the conventional drilling that we plan, we'll be able to do all of the production testing necessary. In fact, we're planning to complete these wells as production wells, so that we can swing them straight into production as soon as we've got our mining license awarded. That process, EIA and award, could take about 12 months, which also coincides with the lead time on some of the long lead items such as the pressure swing absorption chambers in our modular plant. So I'd be looking to flow first helium, say, the beginning of 2024.
So it sounds a really exciting project. You have experience, of course, of taking projects on. How does this compare to what you've been involved with before? I mean, and also, I guess the question also has to be is how engaged are the authorities in Tanzania to helping you move this on? Obviously, they've got an eye on the prize at the end of it, as presumably offtake candidates.
Yeah, I mean, unequivocally, this is the most exciting thing which I've been involved in my career. I've done a lot of good quality projects, but to be able to be involved as the CEO of this project, it fills my day, and I'm really happy about it. In terms of the engagement on the authorities, I mean, the support we're getting from the Tanzanian Mining Authority is incredible. That they're responsive, they're proactive, they're engaged, as indeed everybody is, because they can see the potential of a project such as this to really put Tanzania on the map as a jurisdiction where you can make a world-class discovery, which is precisely what this is.
Before we get into the final question about where the company's going, just wanted to quickly check on where we see helium used. It certainly seems like it's a market where demand is increasing, and it's not just for squeaky voices at parties breathing out of party balloons. In a more serious mode, what is helium now used for?
Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't use it for squeaky voice party tricks. This is a serious commodity in fundamental, critical undersupply, and it shouldn't be wasted in that way. Its primary use at the moment is in the medical center. So it's used in MRI scanners. It's also used in heliox mixture. Helium allows oxygen to enter the more parts of a badly damaged lung. So it's a life-saving commodity in that respect. However, the key growth areas are in high-end, high-value, high-tech electronics. As I said, it's got the smallest molecular gas of any size. So if you want to produce something in a very pure environment, you want to do it in a helium environment. So it's used quite extensively in high-end manufacturing, things like semiconductor chips and fiber optic cables, which are growing exponentially in terms of their demand, are all dependent on helium for manufacturing. It's also being used in data centers. It's got the lowest viscosity of any gas. If you replace the air between the spinning parts of a hard drive of helium, it reduces the energy use of that hard drive by between 20 and 40%. And if you're operating a data center, the biggest cost is energy and cooling. We're producing gigabits of data every year as a society. And again, it's an exponential growth curve. So helium really is vital to our 21st century life. And it's something which we are running out of, which we're not producing enough of. And where the outlook for supply is tenuous.
So what's happening in 2022 for Helium One Global?
2022 is a key year for Helium One Global. It's a really exciting year because this is our discovery year. We've substantially de-risked the basin. We've commenced our phase 2 exploration already. And in the next few months, I'll be looking forward to announcing the results of our phase 2 seismic, the initial results, which should be very exciting and interesting in generating some new targets. I'm also looking forward to announcing an MOU with a conventional rig provider, so that by the end of this next quarter, we'll be able to have in place, what we're drilling, where we're drilling, why we're drilling it, who we're drilling it with, and when we're doing it. And that's really going to lay out the template and the footpath for the next 12 months of exploration, and what's going to be a very, very exciting year for us.
Good. Well, we'll look forward to hearing more. And David, it's a pleasure having you on with us today for an interview about Helium One Global, because clearly it is a project that is going to be of interest in 2022. That's the Chief Executive of Helium One Global, David Minchin. For more videos from us here at IGTV, join us on Twitter at IGCom, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.